Hello everyone, today we will dive into an interesting Japanese folktale from your class 7th English NCERT book, chapter 4, The Ashes That Made Trees Bloom. Here is a story. Once upon a time in old Japan, where landlords ruled the land, an elderly couple lived with their beloved dog. They had no children, so they treated their dog named Muku like their own child. The old woman made a blue cushion for Muku, and he would sit on it during mealtime, as if he were a cat. They lovingly fed him pieces of fish with chopsticks and gave him as much boiled rice as he wanted. Because of this care, Muku loved his owners deeply, as if he had a human heart. The old man was a rice farmer. He worked hard in his field from morning till evening. Muku went with him every day but never disturbed the birds that came to catch insects. The kind old man was gentle with all living creatures and even dug the soil so the birds could find food. One day, Muku ran to the old man and placed his paws on his legs, pointing back with excitement. At first, the old man thought Muku was just playing, but when Muku whined repeatedly, he followed him. Muku led him to a spot and began digging there. Curious, the old man also started digging with a spade. To his amazement, he found a pile of gold. Within an hour, the old couple became rich. They bought more land, celebrated with friends, and shared their fortune with the poor. In the same village lived a greedy old man and his wife. They were not kind at all and often kicked dogs. When they heard about their neighbor's luck, they invited Muku to their garden, offering him fish, hoping he would find treasure for them too. Then the greedy old man pulled the dog outside, carrying a hoe and spade. The dog slowly walked to the pine tree in the garden and began digging with his paws, as if a treasure was buried there. The greedy old man shouted with excitement, "Hurry, wife, bring me the hoe and spade." Both the greedy old man and his wife started digging, but instead of treasure, they found a dead cat with a terrible smell. Covering their noses, they dropped their tools. Furious, the old man kicked the dog, killing it, and his wife struck his head with the spade. They buried the dog in a hole and covered it with soil. When the kind old man, the dog's real owner, learned the dog's death, he was heartbroken. That night, he visited the pine tree near the grave, placing bamboo tubes, fresh flowers, a cup of water, a tray of food, and incense sticks. He mourned for a long time, calling the dog's name lovingly, as if it was still with him. That night, the dog spirit appeared in his dream and said, "Cut the pine tree above my grave and use it to make a mortar for your rice paste and a mill for your bean paste." The next day, the old man cut the tree, made a deep bowl, and created a hammer. When the new year came, they began making rice paste. As they ground the rice, it turned into gold coins. When the old woman ground beans, gold rained down. The greedy neighbors saw this through their window and the next day borrowed the mortar and mill. They tried grinding rice and beans too, but their mortar only produced worms. Angry, they broke the mortar and mill and burned them. A few days later, the kind old man had another dream in which dog spirit told him, "Take the ashes from the mill and sprinkle them on dry trees, and they will blossom again." The old man took the ashes and sprinkled them on his dry cherry tree. To his surprise, it bloomed with pink flowers. When the old man heard that the daimyo, the region's lord, was passing by, he climbed up an old tree with the ashes. As the daimyo's procession passed, he sprinkled the ashes and the tree bloomed with flowers. The daimyo was so pleased that he rewarded the old man with gifts. Seeing this, the greedy neighbor tried the same trick. He threw the ashes on a tree, but nothing happened. The wind blew the ashes into Daimyo and his wife's face, causing irritation in their eyes and noses. Furious, the crowd scolded the greedy man, who ended up humiliated, while the kind old man lived peacefully and happily ever after. And so that is how the story ends. But what we learn from the story tale? Let's think about the important lessons it teaches us. The story teaches us that kindness and compassion bring happiness and rewards, while greed and cruelty lead to suffering and failure. The kind old man and his wife cared deeply for their dog, and their love and kindness were returned back through the dog's spirit, helping them become rich and happy. On the other hand, the greedy neighbors who lacked compassion and were driven by selfishness faced bad luck and humiliation. This story reminds us to treat others, including animals, with respect and kindness, as our actions ultimately bring consequences that reflect our nature. Did the story inspire you? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspiring stories from your NCERT syllabus.